Jason McCoy had always been the golden boy of Rockwell. As the star quarterback of the high school football team, he possessed an effortless charm, a chiseled jawline, and a smile that made girls weak in the knees. He dated the prettiest cheerleaders, drove a beat-up truck that somehow still turned heads, and coasted through life on a wave of popularity that seemed destined to never fade. He never had to try too hard at anything, grades, relationships, or friendships, because everything came naturally to him, or so it seemed from the outside. Ava Sinclair was the complete opposite. She was the quiet girl next door, the one who wore oversized glasses that constantly slid down her nose and always had her nose buried in a book with a cracked spine. She was his best friend, the one person who saw through his act, but she was also invisible in the way that mattered most. Jason never looked at her twice. He never noticed the way she bit her lip when she was nervous, or the way her laugh could light up a room. She was just Ava, reliable, dependable, always there when he needed someone to cover for him after a night of drinking, or to do his homework when he was too hungover to function, or to sit beside his mother in the bleachers during his games, hearing him on even when he played like garbage. But Ava had loved him since she was 16. She had watched him date cheerleaders with perfect smiles and hook up with girls who smelled like vanilla lip gloss and giggled at everything he said. She had stood in the parking lot of their senior prom, hidden in the shadows, and watched him make out with Melody Grant in the back of his truck. Melody had long legs and perfect hair, and she was everything Ava was not, confident, loud, and unapologetic. That night, Ava stood 20 feet away, heart shattering into 1,000 pieces, and she cried so hard on her drive home that she could barely see the road. She promised herself she would get over him. She buried her feelings so deep that she almost believed they were gone. Years passed. Ava went to college, threw herself into her studies, and graduated with a degree in microbiology. She moved to a big city, lost the extra weight she had always been self-conscious about, and slowly built a new version of herself, one that was bold, beautiful, and unapologetic. She stopped apologizing for existing. She stopped shrinking herself to make others comfortable. She became the kind of woman who walked into a room and commanded attention without even trying. Jason, meanwhile, stayed in Rockwell. He became the high school football coach, a role that suited him perfectly. He dated a string of women, teachers, waitresses, the occasional former cheerleader, but none of them ever quite stuck. Something was always missing, though he never could put his finger on what. When Ava returned home for her sister Amanda's wedding, she knew she would see Jason again. She told herself she was prepared. She had spent years convincing herself that she was over him, that the painful memories of high school were just that, memories. But when she walked out of the airport terminal in a sundress that hugged her curves, with her long hair loose and her legs on full display, Jason's entire world tilted on its axis. He spilled hot coffee all over his hand trying not to stare, and he cursed under his breath as he fumbled with the cup. This was not the Ava he remembered. This was a woman who radiated confidence, who moved with a grace that made his heart stutter, who had no idea what she was doing to him. For the next few days, they fell back into their old rhythm, banter, teasing, and the kind of inside jokes that only they understood. But something had shifted. Jason couldn't stop looking at her. He noticed the way her glasses slid down her nose when she was concentrating, the way she chewed on her bottom lip when she was thinking, the way she moved through chaos like it was nothing. He started wanting her in ways that terrified him, ways that made him question every decision he had ever made. They ran errands together, setting up chairs for the wedding and picking up last-minute decorations. They went to a shoe store where Ava tried on a pair of strappy heels in a tiny fitting room, and Jason stood in the corner trying to keep his composure. She was wearing a hoodie and socks printed with cartoon germs, and somehow it was the hottest thing he had ever seen. He felt like a teenager again, awkward and tongue-tied. Then came dance practice. The instructor paired them up and pushed them together until there was no space left between them. Jason's hands settled on her hips, and her chest pressed against his. When she shifted slightly, he felt an uncontrollable surge of desire. He got hard. And she felt it. Her eyes went wide, and she looked up at him with a mixture of shock and something else, something that looked an awful lot like hunger. She ran to the bathroom to compose herself. When she came back, she was flustered but determined. She danced the bridesmaid routine like she had been born to do it, her hips swaying with a confidence that made Jason's pulse race. He stood against the wall, dying inside, wanting nothing more than to pull her into his arms and never let go. Afterwards, she grabbed his hand and said they needed to talk. They drove to his place, and the moment they stepped inside, everything unraveled. She paced his living room, her voice shaking as she unloaded a decade of buried pain. She told him about the years she had loved him in silence, about how he had never really seen her. She told him about prom night, about watching him with Melody, about the way she had cried into her pillow until there were no tears left. She told him she had spent years unlearning the belief that she was invisible, that she was only worth something if she changed her body and her hair and her entire personality. Jason listened. He didn't interrupt. He didn't make excuses. When she was done, he told her the truth. He had been blind, selfish, and stupid. He had walked past the best thing in his life for years because he was too caught up in his own ego. And now? Now he saw her, all of her, and he wasn't looking away. She kissed him. It wasn't tentative or questioning. It was a kiss that said finally, a kiss that burned through every wall they had built. She crawled into his lap, and he kissed her like she was the only thing in the universe. She unclasped her dress and let it fall, and he touched her like she was made of something sacred. And then Amanda called. The ringtone was Barbie Girl, a song that had been a running joke between the sisters since they were kids. It blared from Ava's phone, shattering the moment. Amanda was sobbing on the other end. Dylan had called off the wedding, at least temporarily. He said she was too much, and they needed to take a step back. Ava's sister was falling apart, and Ava had to step into her role as the fixer. She took the call on speaker, her voice calm and steady, even as her heart raced. Jason sat beside her, watching her with an expression that said he would wait forever if she asked him to. When the call ended, he wrapped his arms around her and held her close, asking if she needed to go to her sister. He didn't push. He didn't try to pick up where they left off. He just gave her space. That was when Ava realized that this Jason was different. He wasn't the careless boy she had loved in high school. He was a man who stayed, who cared without demanding anything in return. And in that moment, she knew she was falling for him all over again, but this time, he was falling too. They sat together in the quiet aftermath, holding each other. The week was far from over. The wedding loomed, and Amanda's crisis was far from resolved. But Ava and Jason had crossed a line they could never uncross. And neither of them wanted to go back. They had wasted too many years pretending. Now they were done pretending.